The astrology of May is upon us. It's an incredibly good time to make moves. Watch this video to be in sync with the times and not miss the opportunity. Hey, welcome folks. This is Dr. V, and this is the internet's best kept secret with all the astrology straight up and unadulterated from yours truly, Dr. V, to you, so you are in the know about the cosmic cycles, the quality of the time that's coming up, both on the big level down to the individual and personal level. We do all of it, the political, the mundane, and the markets, and the personal and psychological as well, because all of those we can read and decode with the astrology maps. And that's what we do on this channel. So now we are going to look today at the astrology of May. The month of May is starting, and it's a special month after the crazy roller coaster ride which we had in April with all of those difficulties and all of the complexities. Now it's a much more straightforward month that's coming up. Let's look at the chart so we see what to expect. All right, so here we are. Here's the chart of the moment as we are heading into May. And you can see that we're coming out of well, you can't really see, but you can if I start to move the chart. You can see that we're just now, basically, at the beginning of the month, we're coming out of this long retrograde that we had for Mercury, which was retrograde over the last couple of weeks here in Aries. And this is now finally coming to an end. And that's a feeling that we should have now of relief and of finally things are going. Every time you come out of the Mercury retrograde, it's almost like, the veils are lifted and suddenly all the roadblocks are removed and you can just drive. Or it's like you're at the traffic light and it goes green, right? That's the feeling that you get when you come out of the Mercury retrograde. All the unnecessary obstacles that, you had to deal with, especially with regards to any projects that involve the mind, communications, or ventures, commercial engagements, commercial deals, ideas around business, whatever, all of those things. It's like, the traffic light goes on green. And this is what now happened with Mercury going into forward motion again from the beginning of May. And that means that this is a great time for putting any type of projects that you've been hatching or thinking about over the last couple of weeks, starting to put them into action with decisive moves, with decisive steps. This is Aries energy, a lot of Aries energy. And this month of May is really special. It's one of the best times of the year with regards to the dignities of planets. So this is a traditional astrology thing that we look at. When we look at the planets, we want to see them being strongly placed, especially the planets that are to do with any type of business deals, with any endeavors. And we got Mars, right? This month is in Aries. So Mars is super strong, right? Mars is in its own house. And Venus, too, you see Venus here, is in Taurus. Venus is also the ruler of Taurus. Both of these planets are in their own houses that they rule, in their own domicile, in their mansion. It's basically like the owner of the house is at home, and that's where they're going to be comfortable and strong, and that's where they can, make the moves and make the plans and, reach anybody they need to reach, and they have all their resources, they can recover. It's really that kind of image that you have to have in your mind, and this applies for both Mars, which is the decision energy, the drive, right? This in this coming month is going to be really strong for any projects that you start. And it applies for Venus, which is about sympathy and charm and beauty and attraction and also basically attention, right? Because in this day and age, especially ventures, projects, and so on, to thrive on attention, Venus is going to be very, very strong right now for any new projects that get launched. So put these two things together, and you got a really good time this month for launching projects, right? One of the best times of the entire year, okay? I'm going to give you a couple of concrete dates as well of which dates are really good that you should look at if you're thinking of launching any project. But first, let's first stay on the level of analysis of the individual planets and what we can expect for the remainder of the month. So Mars being in Aries. Mars being in Aries obviously also means that the tempers are going to be especially hot, right? So Aries is Aries, right? Is like the first flame, the fire. Mars is there. Mars feels good there, but this means we should see a month of confrontations, where confrontations, people are not going to wait a long time before going into confrontations. If there's anything to go into confrontations about, it's going to happen like this. Bang, bang, right? It's just going to go Mars in Aries. That's Mars in Aries energy, right? So this is on the world stage. Unfortunately, this means that over the next couple of weeks, we're going to see a further fanning of the flames, a further escalations of everywhere where there is currently conflicts going on. So this does not bode well for the conflict in the Middle East. It's very likely, it's actually almost certain that in this month of May, Israel is going to get really aggressive with the remaining settlement of Rafah, which they're just starting to occupy or to attack as well in a direct kind of confrontation. That does not bode well for the civilian population there. We can just hope that there will not be too many civilian deaths in that situation, but unfortunately it's likely that there's going to be a further strong escalation in that area, the same as in everywhere else where you have conflicts right now. So that conflict in the Middle East, obviously it has led to pretty big clashes in the United States as well amongst students who are occupying universities everywhere all across the country, and the police forces and the authorities who, they cannot allow this to happen. You ask yourself why, how come that when these protests were happening for the BLM movement, these were protests that happened, they went through and there wasn't too much resistance coming from authorities. But now, all of a sudden, it seems like authorities are not being lenient at all, and it's going to end in some clashes. So with regards to these clashes, the coming weeks are going to be very, very intense. I'm especially looking at the end of May, in May 23, 22, around that time, 20th of May, you got Mars here coming on the same point where we had last month, the eclipse, the Great American Eclipse, right, of April, the solar eclipse, which is so much bound up in the further destiny of the United States. I had a whole video on this. I'm going to link that below if you want to see that. It's the exact point of the eclipse on 18 Aries that gets hit by Mars. So the problematic around that eclipse is going to flare up a lot, and this means larger upheavals and clashes of the people and a lot of violence on the streets, unfortunately. By the way, if you ask yourself whether my predictions have bearing on reality, you can test this on an ongoing basis. If you follow this channel from time to time, I'm going to give you some reminders as well so that you see how the resonances, cosmic resonances work. In last month's video for April, I predicted for mid-month an escalation of conflicts around the world. And lo and behold, the Iran-Israel conflict exploded shortly after, and exactly around the middle of the month, we had the big attack with missiles from Iran on Israel. I had specifically prognosticated an escalation of China's conflicts with its neighbors, specifically in the maritime regions. This is what I said in the previous video. And this happened too. In the middle of the month, exactly around the time that was predicted, China had a major confrontation with the Philippines around maritime waters, big disputes. They started to now go at each other. Philippines are not anymore accepting Chinese claims on the water. However, this was not big news because the Chinese kind of kept it down low and quiet and they didn't let it escalate too much. But it happened as predicted, even though this news was much more overshadowed by the Iran-Israel conflict. Be that as it may, let's get back to the month of May and see what else we can expect and predict for the coming month that we're heading into. All right, so I'm going to go back here again so that we can see because we skipped a couple of things here as we were focused so much on the Mars energy. The Mars is really strong again. So for starting ventures, for projects that need a lot of drive and energy, this is a great time to take the initiative, to be courageous, to step forward. Incredibly good time for around that. Mars is also here with the North Node, so steps that are taken can have a real social impact as well in this month. Then the other thing, obviously, of course, is that the Jupiter-Uranus that we're still in, and Jupiter-Uranus, what is it? It's about optimism and enthusiasm on the markets, right? And in innovation, specifically around innovation. It's like this exuberance, which is Jupiter, right? That comes to innovation. Innovation is Uranus, right? And this is going to get a large boost again because the Sun and Venus are entering into the constellation. So we have this stellium here, which is like 4 planets, right? Super strong for May as well in Taurus, right? And Taurus is obviously about establishing material wealth and material reality and kind of hard physical goods, sensuous things, real things that you can touch and that have value. All of that is Taurus, and the Sun and Venus are entering into the game as well as the month progresses. So with the Sun coming into play, we can expect around mid-May a lot of light to be shed on these innovative endeavors and the innovative energy and the exuberance that has been around us and with us for the last couple of weeks. And with Venus coming in there as well, it just brings a certain quality of style and elegance and a je ne sais quoi, a certain type of